Hello again. Welcome one more time to this second video on the expression of the future in English. I hope you can hear me very well in this case, because I could see that in the first video, in the first few seconds, there was a kind of problem that later on got fixed, and hopefully you can hear me well right from the beginning in this second video. Okay. So, as I said, in this video we will cover those new expressions to be learned in this unit to talk about the future, okay? And also, as I said, these expressions are built using the verb to be, all right? So, as you can see, all of them have in common the fact that we use the verb to be with them. And each of them mean a different thing, all right? And express a different function and a different idea, right? So we have to know what we mean before we decide to use one or the other, all right? So we're going to start with the first one. The first one is be likely to. Now, something is likely when it will probably happen or is probably true. In Spanish, we would say something like es probable que, right? So that would be more or less the equivalent in our own language. So have a look at the examples and see how this expression is used, right, in real life. So snow showers, I guess everyone remembers these words. Showers. Snow showers are likely tomorrow. Es probable. O estas lloviznas son probables mañana, ¿no? Or in the second example, children who live in the country's rural areas are very likely to be poor, right? Well, as you can see, in Spanish, the sentence is slightly different, all right? En español, el sujeto no son los niños. En español nosotros diríamos, es muy probable que los niños que viven en zonas rurales sean pobres, ¿vale? Nosotros utilizaríamos la expresión es muy probable que para be likely to. But in English, the subject of the sentence is the children in this case. So we say, the children are likely to be poor. Okay? In this case, the children who live in the country's rural areas. They are very likely to be poor. Again, in Spanish, the translation is slightly different because the order of the sentence changes. All right? In Spanish, the sentence, I insist, has a different subject. Is an impersonal subject. El sujeto, en español, es impersonal. ¿Vale? Nosotros decimos es. Es muy probable que. En inglés, los niños son el sujeto de esta expresión. Eso nos va a pasar con todas. That will happen with all of them. Okay? In Spanish, we use the impersonal subject. In English, we use the subject that we need in each case, okay? In this case, the children. In this case, snow showers, okay? To be likely to es ser probable que pase algo, ¿vale? Pero ese algo tiene que ser el sujeto, ¿de acuerdo? Okay, so let's continue. Be likely to can be used also using adverbs. Now, something is likely, algo es probable, but it can be more likely or less likely depending on the adverb that we use, right? So you have a list of adverbs that you can use in this case with examples. For example, let's start with the first one. It did not seem very likely that he was still alive, ¿vale? Se traduciría como no parecía muy probable que él siguiera vivo, ¿vale? En este caso, esta forma de utilizar be likely to es un poco más parecida a lo que nosotros diríamos en español, ¿vale? Pero también podemos hacerla como se ha hecho en este caso. Podemos convertir en sujeto lo que no es sujeto en español. Por ejemplo, yo podría decir aquí, he was not very likely to be alive. Okay? Hopefully you have understood that well. Si no entendéis algo, os repito, tendremos una clase online en la que podréis preguntarme lo que queráis, ¿vale? Okay, let's continue. At this age, boys were more likely than girls to be active in sports. In Spanish, we would say, a esta edad es más probable que los chicos sean más activos en los deportes que las chicas, ¿vale? Nosotros diríamos es más probable, un sujeto impersonal. En inglés podemos hacerlo así, los chicos son el sujeto, ¿vale? Boys were more likely than girls to be active in sports, okay? Well, again, you can use different adverbs. You can use very, highly, extremely, more, quite likely, less, the least likely, hardly. You can use different adverbs to express how likely something is. Se pueden utilizar diferentes adverbios para expresar cómo de probable es algo, right? Depending on the adverb that you use, that particular thing will be more likely, highly likely, or hardly likely, or very unlikely. You could also say unlikely, all right? Okay. Let's move on to the second expression, be bound to. This sentence in Spanish would mean es seguro que, es fijo que. So as you can see, the first one and the second one are quite different, because in the first case, be likely to, you mean that something is probable. It can be more or less likely. Puede ser más o menos probable. But in the second case, be bound to, what you're saying is that something is happening for sure or is highly likely to happen. All right? Okay? So have a look at this. Be bound to. To be very certain or extremely likely. Ser muy, muy seguro o extremadamente probable. Okay? So there's a big difference. Let's have a look at the examples. Maybe it is easier to understand. Don't lie to her. She's bound to find out. No le mientas. Se va a enterar seguro. O es muy probable. Es seguro que se entera. Okay? Keith hasn't studied maths. He's bound to fail his exam. Keith no ha estudiado matemáticas. Es seguro que va a suspender. Es muy, muy probable. Muy, muy probable. ¿Vale? No es probable, es seguro que va a suspender. O seguramente suspenda. That would be the translation into Spanish. Okay? And finally, these two musicians are bound to be very successful internationally. Maybe they are not successful yet, but you can see this because they are very good at playing, because they create really good songs, you think that they are extremely likely to be successful in the future. So you say they are bound to be very successful. In Spanish, we would say es seguro, es fijo, es muy, muy probable que estos músicos sean muy exitosos de manera internacionalmente. ¿Vale? Okay? Right. So, something that I want to say about this expression, be bound to, something that I would like you to take into account is the register, the moments, the context in which we use this expression. Now, bound to is used mainly in spoken English. It's very, very common to hear and to see this expression being used in spoken English. In written English is less common. People usually, when they write, use other expressions, like for example, certain to, or it is inevitable that. For example, it is inevitable that mistakes will happen. Okay? If you're talking, if you're speaking, you could say mistakes are bound to happen. All right? Again, if you use it when you're writing in informal context or in general, okay, no problem. It's okay. But you need to know that it's far more common to see it in spoken English. Okay? Great. Let's move on to the third expression. Well, no, sorry. Before we move on to the third expression, here you have some more examples, okay? So that you can see the expression being used in other sentences, okay? So you can have a look at them. You have also some, expressions that you could see and that you could study. All right? All right. So let's have a look at the third expression, be due to. When something is due to, está previsto que pase, o se espera que pase. So probably there's a date, there's a specific time in which we expect that particular thing to happen. All right? As I pinpoint in this case, it is used to talk about things that are expected or planned to happen at a specific time. There's a fixed event. Have a look at the examples. What time is the next bus due to arrive? So the next bus is due to arrive at 7. Está previsto que el autobús llegue a las 7, por ejemplo. ¿A qué hora está previsto que llegue el autobús? What time is the next bus due to arrive? So the bus, again, is the subject. The bus is due to arrive at 7. Remember that. That's really, really important because it's the biggest difference when comparing these expressions to Spanish. Okay? The second one. The next meeting is due to be held in 3 months. Se espera que la próxima reunión se celebre en 3 meses. O está previsto. The present chairman is due to retire next month, or they are due to open a new cinema in town soon. Okay? All right. And finally, the last expression, be about to. Be about to means estar a punto de. Now, if someone is about to do something, or if something is about to happen, it means that they will do it or it will happen very soon. Estar a punto de. I'm about to start a new English lesson. Estoy a punto de empezar una nueva clase de inglés. Okay? Estar a punto de. Hurry up, the plane is about to take off. Okay? Date prisa que el avión está a punto de despegar. And as I advanced at the beginning of the video, you can use synonyms. You can use other expressions like this. For example, I can see Mark is too tired. He's off the brink of giving up. So with these expressions, on the brink, on the verge of, or on the point of, you need to remember that you need a verb in the ing form. Okay? I can see Mark is too tired. He's on the brink of giving up. Politicians are on the verge of calling new elections. She can't keep her balance. She's on the point of falling down. Okay? Está a punto de lo que sea. Todas significan lo mismo. ¿De acuerdo? All of them mean exactly the same. They are synonyms. Okay? Another thing that I wanted to comment on these 3 expressions, and I remind you they are synonyms of be about to, estar a punto de. You need to remember that you need a verb in the ing form, but also, apart from using a verb in the ing form, you can use these expressions with a noun. For example, these 2 countries are on the brink of war. Estos 2 países están al borde de la guerra, a punto de la guerra. In Spanish, it sounds weird, but in English, it sounds really, really natural. She is on the verge of collapse. Está al borde del colapso. Okay? They are on the point of madness. Están al borde de la locura. Okay? Okay. And to finish with this video, I would like to remind you that these expressions, even though they are used to talk about the past, you can also use them to talk about the past. These expressions are used to talk about the future, but they can also be useful to talk about the past. Like this, okay? They were likely to win. Era probable que ganaran el partido de ayer y lo hicieron. Okay? You can use these expressions also in the past. The train was due to arrive at 7, and yet we had to wait on the platform for 2 more hours. Okay? All right. So here I have included some links for you to access and be able to practice the structures that we've seen in block 1 and the ones in block 2. I hope everything is clear. We will hold a virtual meeting in which you will be able to ask any questions you might have. But make sure you work on the videos, you do the practice, you do whatever it takes to try and understand. And then I will solve all your doubts. Okay? Well, see you then. Bye.